we are exposed to so much visual, particularly visual imagery, the onslaught of the visual experience nowadays particularly. It wasn't so much like that pre-internet, because you just had the TV, which was delivering news in a certain way, not the ugly way. And of course then you had newspapers, which only, talked really in stories, didn't really show the graphic content of things. And now, my, we're exposed to everything. So we can see brutality, we can see suffering, we can see pain everywhere. No one is who looks is immune to it in many ways. And yet, the nervous system, the sacred entity, the whole of the actually really in many ways delicate way that we are, I think it is not equipped for that. Certainly, as you deepen on a path of spiritual inquiry, as you fall inside in some way, or start to melt, something within starts to melt. The onslaught of the particularly visual world becomes almost unbearable. It's like, how do we bear that, really? How do we bear that in our inner systems? Do we just turn away from it? Do we just build up defenses? Do we develop a kind of strategy, another strategy of trying to justify it or box it in, or say, well, it's not my life, so it doesn't really, touch me. But in many ways, with this movement of life and with this deeper spiritual inquiry, exploration that many people are on, I actually think we have to remember our sensitivity and embrace our sensitivity without kind of clutching at it, without denying it, without turning away from it. It's like I've made quite a lot of videos of, how to bear the unbearable, how to open beyond somehow the unbearable feeling or thought or, whatever it is. Because as long as we're caught, like everybody else, in the turning away, something within us denies the experience and even hardens to the experience of witnessing trouble. I don't have the answer to this. This is just a living inquiry. Some people are more sensitive than others. Maybe that's true. Maybe just everybody's sensitive and they deal with it in different ways. But certainly, sensitive people have a great deal of difficulty, not just with their own internal arisings, but also with the impact of the world. And maybe fall into the spiritual exploration as a way of trying to navigate the treacherous relationship with one's sensitivity. And that on the spiritual path, which is a blessing for the sensitive one, because it does provide a context and it does provide a deeper ground than just the getting lost and caught up in the machinations of the human condition. But it also requires a deeper surrender. Now, I've talked about surrender a lot in my videos, and surrender is something that actually my wife, Amoda Ma, her link is in the notes below this video, and I would encourage listening to her because she talks about surrender a lot. Because in order to stop struggling so much with one's sensitivity to oneself and to the world, and one has to go deeper than the sensitivity, in fact. That the sensitivity will arise, no need to get rid of it, no need to fix it, no need to argue with it, no need to think that it's something wrong, is the ultimate thing. You know, maybe sensitivity is right, but difficult and painful, because being a human being is difficult for some and painful, and we each respond to that difficulty in our own unique ways. And I know a lot of sensitive people, I've put out a video before, you know, a lot of sensitive people get on my case and leave comments saying sensitivity is just too much and I wish it would go away and I hate it and I think you're wrong for even talking about embracing it in some way. But my experience with sensitivity is that it doesn't go away just because you don't like it. It doesn't go away because you're angry with it. It's neither is it really just a curse to stay with on that level. Wisdom suggests that one has to somehow grapple with the issue of sensitivity by, in a way, reframing it, if it's possible. Maybe it's not possible for some. That's it's the way that it is, really. But to grapple with the possibility that sensitivity is another doorway to surrender, to humility, to allowing, to acceptance, to open wider than the sensitivity. To open wider than the sensitivity, because when sensitivity arises, it's like we sort of clamp around it, and I fight with it, really, as if the idea of fighting with ourselves is going to give us some kind of solution, is going to pay off in some way. It doesn't really tend to pay off. It just constricts until we give up and let go, and then there's another relief. But maybe instead of this clamping around it, the invitation in a way is to unclamp around it. So sensitivity is arising. Okay. Can I allow that? Can I open wider than that? Can I breathe deeper than that? Can I be more aware? Can I be more expanded than that? Without denying it, and not just from the mind, but actually with the energy body, with the energy system. It's an energetic, felt opening to allow, without a mind saying, yes, but if you do this and do this and do this, this is going to happen. No. Don't. it's not about that, at least in this experience. And I'm not advocating for, being irresponsible with oneself, or, just casting it all away, just trying to dig in a little to invite the possibility that opening beyond sensitivity actually allows sensitivity to be a great intuition, a great deep wisdom. Sensitivity becomes a river that informs us. It becomes a gift of our being human instead of a curse of being human. But only when we stop struggling with it as though it's the enemy of our existence and start learning somehow to love that feeling sense. Not easy. Nothing is easy.